Hey, what's going on? Justin here, and today I have the Lego Treehouse, which recently retired. It started at its retail price of $200 and then got bumped up to $250. And then I have a Rebrickable of the Treehouse, only using Treehouse pieces. Now, this is the Lake House by a name that I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it's GR33, some other letters. And there is a lot of good things about this cool little Rebrickable, one of which is that it only uses Treehouse pieces. Now, the downside of this set is that it is very fragile. When you take off the roofs, pieces fall off, moving it around, the tree completely gets knocked off at times. I've tried to make it more sturdy just using the pieces that come with the Treehouse, but it's very difficult. Maybe it's my imagination and creativity is just lacking, because I'm sure there are tens of thousands of people more creative than me that can do better than me with making this more sturdy. But when it's just using the pieces from the Treehouse, I think the builder did a great job. There are some complaints, and again, that all goes back towards the sturdiness of it. But when it comes to the design, I think there's no question this looks fantastic, especially next to the Treehouse. Now, the colors don't match up, but if I flipped it on the other side, the leaves would look good with the leaves on this side, but this is how I have it sitting for now. And if I just switch off these leaves to be green, it would look great again. Now, my place for this in my collection is next to the A-frame cabinet, next to the Treehouse. And I think it looks really good. So when talking about, hey, how's this going to fit in? If you do have an extra Treehouse, then it looks great. If you can find a Treehouse used, which I did for under $90, then hey, why not take a shot on building something different that less people have in their collections? Now, it is a Rebrickable model, so there are frustrations when building Rebrickable models, and that usually comes with having every single piece out and having to sort through them and however you want to build Rebrickable models. And it can take a very long time and it can be frustrating, but the final product is usually something that's pretty unique. And I do like that. So I do like that this builder gave us something different. So we're going to not so much compare these because it's not a fair comparison, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at this lake house and just look inside and just move things around and see what it looks like. It's not going to be overly in depth, and that's because there's not so much to it that you can go into a lot of detail, but at the end of the day, it's a good model, and let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so I'm going to do my best to represent this in a way that the background's not distracting, and that way you can see the darker colors, because it is a treehouse nonetheless, or a set that is built out of the treehouse. So we'll start with just the outside look. I do have the minifigs placed here and there, and I do have a couple in my city, so they're not all here, but all the minifigs you can do whatever you want with anyways. On the outside, you do have this little river section or end of a river, which kind of could pair well with the other treehouse. They make use of all of the pieces that do get utilized. All of these fruits, fish, carrots, things like that. They do have a little balcony to sit out, coming from what looks to be like the living room section of this, which when we take off the roof, we'll be able to see in there a little bit better. The tree here, I had to add this section, and I know it doesn't look great, but I was just throwing things together to make it to where I can make it a little more stable, and it sort of worked, but this thing is still super fragile. As you can see, it does wiggle around, and it's even more fragile in the way that you build it from the builder, which they do only use the treehouse pieces, so it's not really a fault of theirs per se. You are limited by the pieces you have at your disposal unless you want to add extra pieces. So I did add this little platform up there for a kid to stand or whatever, and there's a cat stuck in the tree. Going around to the back side, there is a little pathway leading up to some stairs, which do go inside and go into what would be a little dining room area, which again, we'll take a look at inside. They make use of the lanterns for lamps outside. Overall, the outside look, I think looks great. I think it pairs well with the treehouse because it uses all of the same colors. It uses the same pieces. You can use all of one tree type, but this is how they have it in the build. And the reason I like this is because I can put this side on the A-frame cabin side or on the treehouse side, depending what leaves I use, and same for this, but you can make it all fall colors or whatever colors you want. But in essence, that is an overview of the outside. All of this stuff is very fragile. Even these parts that look like the sides of the, just framing out the window and stuff, is all very fragile. But what's even more fragile is this section. in how you take off the roof. And again, pieces are going to break off because this is not a play model by any means as the way it stands. You do have to make modifications if you want to make this more accessible and more friendly. But yeah, so let's go ahead and just attempt to take off some of the roofs, and I will do it just like this so you can see how it feels for me as I try to take this off. Now it does come off in sections, but as you can see, it's already pushing against the tree. So we got our first section off, which is nice. And then this kind of L section is one piece, but as you can see, the leaves are kind of on there, and you can see it's already moving, and one piece already came off. And there we go. The tree's starting to fall apart. But again, even this part does come off very easily, and it's already shaking. Surprisingly, that's the best I've taken it apart. This tree, you can see it's already kind of wobbling as well. That part you can push back down, but there's really no connection. And there you go, pieces falling off. And this is just barely touching it. But again, I do not want to say that the model doesn't look really good. There are flaws, but overall, I think it does look good. So what we're going to do now is we will go ahead and take a look at the inside and then just try to put back on this roof to see how that goes. But I imagine it'll go a little worse than how I took it off. So here you do have a view of the inside. We'll start on the far side when you open up and come in from the balcony. There is a little couch there, a lamp. That's about it. There's not a whole lot going on the inside because it is a very small area. On this side, you do have a dining table, and there's just some little side builds to give it a different look, whether it's a bookcase or a fireplace, whatever it is. Some cups and some mail. In the other corner, they have appears to be a jewel of sorts. It's kind of in a container. Maybe it represents a lamp as well, or a light. And then on the far side, we do just have kind of a tough area to see from this angle. We'll try to move it around, and we'll spin this to try to see. There it is, the kitchen. It's a small kitchen, but again, this is a very small area, and I think they make very good use for all of this space that they're giving you. This is kind of the best angle where you can see the most. Again, kitchen, little dining room, and a seating area. That's really all that's in this. It's kind of just like a very small cabin, especially compared to the treehouse, which had those 3 kind of larger rooms. But overall, I think they made good use of the pieces they had. So now we'll take a look at, again, zooming out a little bit and take a look at some of the outside details and trying to put the roof back on. But again, you can still see that the tree is a little wobbly here and it just wants to move. But let's go ahead and try to put these roofs back on and then look at some of the outside detail again. So on the outside, you do have these details that don't really provide much support because you have pieces like this that just come off. But overall, this part's kind of sturdy. I wouldn't say it's very sturdy, and the other parts are even less so, but nothing connects to any of this. It just all rests on top of each other. This one is the easiest to put on. It just slots right in. There's no jumpers that it has to worry about connecting to. But then you have all of these pieces, which just picking them up makes them fall apart. And the reason is because it uses just these tiles as connecting points to here. So just trying to get it to connect is difficult. I can't, there it goes. Now that part comes off, and now you're going to have to push this down like that. And that's the connection, but you can already see it's leaning away, and there it's leaning towards, leaning away, because there is no solid connection and it just came off again. Now, you could find a longer tile and put it in there, or make changes to make this a little bit more sturdy, which is what I'm going to have to do if I want to at all see this or play with this or do anything at all, because this would be the last time I likely take this apart, because it's just absolutely ridiculous to try to get that in there and it's not even barely connected. So there's that part. And now moving on to the last part, which again, for any Lego roof, if Lego were to have made this, this would not be this way at all, but the builder was stuck with the pieces that were presented to them. So that one's now connected as best that it can be. And you slot that in, and it's not even on. And I'm afraid to move it very much. There we go, it's on. But you can see how far that's leaning forward or just completely falling off. So you can see the frustration with this set. I'm not gonna lie, there is tons of frustration that I have with this set because of the fragility of it and just trying to get this on. I mean, this is what it's gonna be. I'm not gonna mess with it again because again, this tree is already wanting to fall apart. The leaves fall off. I'll try to push it back down as best I can. But that is basically the Rebrickable of the treehouse. Now, again, I don't want to take away from the builder, and I don't want to take away from how this looks in person. It looks great. It looks fantastic next to the treehouse. But if you are wanting something stable, this is probably not going to be the most fun build. But it looks fine. I was happy to be done with it, and it basically sits on the shelf until this moment when crap starts falling off everywhere. And I've tried to make this video before, and stuff fell off way worse, got too frustrated, and even this time, I just wanted to get this video over with and just be done. So this is the Rebrickable of the treehouse. So there you have it. That is the best I could do without being incredibly frustrated review of the Lake House Rebrickable model of the treehouse. The treehouse is a superior model, and that was because a lot of planning and thought went into it, and a company created it. This was created by somebody who took something really good and made something really nice. Overall, I don't want to complain, but my only complaint is how fragile it is. Now, if this builder wanted to add other pieces, I'm sure they could have made it much more sturdy, but they really wanted to save you, the builder, money from having to go out and buy extra pieces, which happens in a lot of Rebrickable models where they are more sturdy. So I can't fault the builder for using everything that was in the previous set. That's just how it goes. So yeah, overall, I think it looks great though. I really do. I think this model, once I start to build like a forest section or camping section, this next to the treehouse and the A-frame cabin and some of the other BDP sets that have come out, I think this is just going to look fantastic. But as for now, it just sits up on my shelf next to the treehouse and cabin, and I think it looks really good. I don't think there's a complaint besides the sturdiness of it. So other than that, I say give it a shot. If you are tired of looking at the treehouse, or you do find a treehouse for sale used that is $90 or something like I did, I have zero complaints for $90 this set. It reminds me of a Bricklink designer program set because of it not being perfect, but this is great. And again, it looks great. So thanks again for watching this video, and this is a Rebrickable model of the treehouse. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great weekend.